and welcome to episode 6 of Lost and Loud, the podcast, where we just talk about how we are lost in life, but we are loud about it. I don't really have many things to talk about other than just mind rot on my brain. Love is Blind, season 6. Because, oh my god, I had never watched the show before. I had never heard of it, and now all of a sudden, it is the only thing on my mind. I am counting down the days until the new episodes are released, and it's the only thing I watch. Like, when you guys are watching this episode on Patreon, it will be the day of my surgery, but when it's on YouTube, it'll be a week after. So the new episodes just dropped where we finally find out who Chelsea was saying when she was yelling through the door, being like, "You effed her." I was like, who is she talking about? But now we know. So, warning, even though publicly it will have been 2 weeks since these episodes dropped, still spoiler alert. And for my besties on Patreon, it will have only been a couple days. So again, spoiler alert. So let me just get into this quickly, okay? So I had always heard of Love is Blind, okay? But I was kind of just like, I'm not a big reality TV show girl. You know, because I think the ones like Bachelor in Paradise and all these like too hot to handle shows really give reality TV a bad rep, and it just makes looking for love really like, just gives it a bad reputation in general. Like, it just makes me cringe. I just started hearing people talk about the love triangle between 3 people, and I was like, Jimmy, Chelsea, and Jess. So I actually had nothing that was spoiled for me, but it really just made me start to be like, oh my god, Love is Blind? Like, there can be love triangles on a show that is about love being blind. And then when I actually looked it up, I was like, wow, I actually am really loving the premise of this show. As we know, like I talk about it all the time in my podcast episodes, love is so superficial nowadays, and relationships are literally failing. We have a loneliness epidemic that is happening in the world, and clearly what we are doing right as people and as a society for the most part is not freaking working. So to have a concept come on where love is truly blind, like there is a physical barrier between you, and even when people would put their hands up against a thing, they'd be like, oh, can you see my hand? And the people would be like, no. And it was truly just their voice. So if you're not familiar with Love is Blind, let me give you a little rundown. Basically, they choose 15 men and 15 women that basically say they're ready for marriage, and they start to date each other. So all the women can see each other, but they can't see the men, and all the men can see each other, but they can't see the women. So they go into these pods where one man goes in and one woman, and they start to talk. They start to talk about their values, what they're looking for in a relationship, their hobbies, and then slowly but surely they start to find they have a lot of common with people. They start to fall in love, and surprisingly, after only knowing someone for 7 days, people actually fall in love with getting to know someone for who they are. After a week, if you love them, you'll like propose, right? And the whole premise of the show is proposing marriage to someone who you never saw, but you fell in love with them as a person. And the only time you actually get to see how they look like is after you propose. So when you meet them, then it's like, oh my god, the true question is love really blind? Because now you've fallen in love with this person. You've probably crafted images of them in their head, and you meet them, and maybe they're not what you're usually attracted to, but at the end of the day, does that matter? And I love the fact that like it allows people to have the ability to fall in love, but the only thing I don't like about the show is that it kind of like forces marriage in a way where it's like, what if these people are really amazing? They should at least get like 3 months to date before they get married, okay? They only get a couple weeks. Pretty much the show is like being on a telephone with someone you've never seen, talking for a week, falling in love, and then getting married to them after seeing how they look like after you've fallen in love. So I love the idea of it because of how selfish we are as a society with dating. Like, I've talked about it before, how on dating apps, maybe you're just so superficial where you're like, I won't date a guy that's 5'11 and a half. He has to be 6 feet. But it's like, dude, it's like swiping left on that guy that could have been my husband. And it just gives me such an icky feeling. And I feel like deep down, most of us desire having someone that will love us for who we truly are, because as you know, like as you get older, looks fade. Looks are important. Being attracted to the person that you're with is very important, don't get me wrong, but having an emotional connection to someone can enhance the attractiveness. Like, I'm sure everyone watching has experienced that, where the person you're dating might not fully be your type, but then they have qualities like how they help you, how they take care of you, how their laugh that is so contagious, that they're good with kids. All these little things can contribute to someone's total package. And Love is Blind allows that. But even though the premise of Love is Blind is very pure and is meant to do no harm, unfortunately, humans are imperfect and there will always be some bad eggs that infiltrate and ruin it for everybody. And as we can see in season 6 so far, like we definitely have some good couples that I feel like I think a lot of them will last, but then you have some that don't. They're just not compatible outside of the pods because for some, the physical attraction, they just couldn't take it not being there. And then you have ones that manipulate the game and go for their own gain and go for social media. One thing that I think would totally improve the premise of the show would be if the viewers didn't even know how they looked like. Because let's be fucking for real, Chelsea looks like Megan Fox before plastic surgery. And everybody's saying she thinks she looks like Megan Fox just because she's bigger than Megan Fox. Her face looks so much like Megan Fox from before she had plastic surgery. Her eyes, her upturned nose, like if you went like this to Chelsea, you would think she was young Megan Fox. And just because her body doesn't look like her, people have been fucking harassing her. It's insane. And it just goes to show that even the viewers are freaking biased. It teaches people. The show is supposed to be about how we should not judge people's physical appearance. People start comparing Jimmy to a thumb. People are making fun of like Jess's filler and how Laura has bleach blonde hair and that Johnny isn't attractive because he's blonde. And dude, like y'all aren't learning anything from the show. You guys are the reason why dating sucks nowadays. Like, people are like, oh, it's justified because Jimmy isn't a good guy. No, it's not. I'm sorry, but you are the villain, not him. But I get it. Like, they want the tea. They want the viewers being like, oh my God, an attractive girl's falling for this ugly guy. They want that. And that's what gets them ratings because as humans, we're all loving drama and we want to see things crash and burn. And it goes to show, like, when Jess got rejected by Jimmy, the first thing she brought up was her looks, like, oh, you're going to need your EpiPen. And I get it. It was a moment of being hurt, but it really goes to show, like, our society really values being attractive. And she felt like in that moment she should have gotten him because she was, in her opinion, more attractive than Chelsea. And that's messed up, but I do love Jess. I think Jess is a wonderful woman, and we all say things that we don't mean when we're hurt. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to talk too much about the actual drama. Like, I don't care what happened before the pods and after the pods. I kind of just want to talk about what happened during the pods and what's happening now in the show with these episodes that dropped. And as we know, most people are talking about like Jimmy, Chelsea, and Jess, and I will talk about them too, but like, I really want to talk about Johnny and Amy. After I started watching season 6, I really started watching the other seasons, and I watched pretty much all the other seasons. And when you watch Love is Blind, there's always one couple, at least one that you know is gonna make it, that really took the experiment seriously, that really tested that is love blind, where they're like, you know what, you're not my type, and maybe I'm not the most physically attracted to you if I saw you at a bar. We had such a strong emotional connection that now I'm attracted to you enough that I'm willing to work on it and pursue it. And there's always one couple that works out. And for this season, it is definitely Johnny and Amy. I love them together. You know it's a good sign when there are people that just like both agree that each other are the one from the beginning because they just didn't want to deal with all the other people because they met the person they had a lot in common with. They felt that spark and they were like, you know what, let's try this. A lot of the time after watching a couple seasons, usually when there's a love triangle, things do not work well because it goes to show, like, if you are caught between two people the day before you are about to propose. That goes to show that you aren't necessarily ready to pick one person for marriage. That you are just kind of being like, like, usually that's the case because you're not certain. You're kind of just hoping that the person you pick is the one. But really, you're in love with two people. It's like The Bachelor. That's why you see so many cases where one person picks someone and then they completely switch up and then they regret the decision and go to the other person. Now, we see this in The Bachelor all the time, but we definitely have seen this with Love is Blind. And a perfect example is between Zach and Irina. Now, this season, we are seeing shit between Jeremy and Laura. And I think I want to highlight the difference between these two couples because Zach and Irina didn't handle the situation well. I do agree with him that I think she went on just for fame. Her and Micah were like totally bullies during the season. Like everyone is here that are struggling in life trying to find love and y'all are just acting like high school bullies. Grow up, get a hobby, get off your phone. And it goes to show people like that shit doesn't work out for them. So it's like karma got you. Zach handled it with class. He realized after he met Irina physically and things were not working out because the chemistry wasn't there, that he was like, I made a mistake. But you know what he didn't do? He didn't secretly message Bliss while with Irina, while still trying to seduce her, even though she wasn't into him physically. I do genuinely believe that even if Zach and Irina were intimate, he would have stopped it the moment he felt incompatible with Irina and then respectfully have broken up with Irina and then went for Bliss. So Zach approached it with class. He manned up. He realized what I did was wrong. I made the wrong choice. I thought she was the one, but she wasn't because these love triangles are hard because you're trying to make a last minute decision about your wife in the last moment. I do genuinely believe that people in these love triangles should be given at least a couple more days than the other contestants because we should be encouraging the contestants to find the right person, right? Not necessarily rushing. And I'll get into the whole rushing issue, but it's like Jeremy, on the other hand, is not handling this with class. Sarah Ann is not handling this with class. Jeremy, at the end of the day, did not choose Sarah Ann. He chose Laura. Therefore, he has an obligation to Laura. Even if Sarah Ann messaged him, yeah, that's bad on her part, but Jeremy is the one that made the vow. Jeremy is the one that chose Laura. He should have respectably approached Laura, be like, hey, you know what? I fell in love with you in the pods. I appreciate the connection that we've had so far. I think my feelings for Sarah Ann are stronger, but I really appreciate you as a person, but I think I made the wrong decision, and I hope you can respect that. That's what a real classy person would do. But instead, Mr. Jeremy thought he could get both. And that's what happens all the time with people in the freaking modern day dating world. And we were supposed to have Love is Blind as an escape from that. Not the unlimited options. Oh, I was in a love triangle, so now I get both. I have two women now that love me. That is not the mindset you're supposed to have with the show. You were supposed to have class and end it with Laura and then off show approach Sarah Ann. Zach is a perfect example of someone that did it with class, and he admitted to his mistake, but look how happy his life is now. Him and his wife are pregnant. They're starting a family. They look so beyond happy. And there's nothing wrong with Jeremy realizing he had feelings for Sarah Ann more than Laura. The issue is him doing it behind Laura's back, lying to her and thinking he could get a little from Laura and a little from Sarah Ann. Do I think his relationship with Sarah Ann is going to work out? No. Maybe now that he'll end it with Laura, he's only ending it with Laura because he got caught, but maybe now that's over with Laura, maybe him and Sarah Ann probably feel like, okay, like especially publicly, we cannot have this fail. Maybe they'll last 2 years. Maybe they'll last 5. Do I think they'll last 30? 50? I don't think so. Maybe that'll bite me in the butt one day and come back in 50 years and Sarah Ann and Jeremy will still be together. But when people get together that way, it never works out. If somebody cheats with you, they'll cheat on you. Let's be for real. The same thing's gonna happen to Sarah Ann. He's gonna find someone else he thinks is hotter. When his wife is mad at him, he's gonna want to go to the girl that makes him feel good. And then he's gonna pick her. You're so much simpler than her. You make me feel good. My wife doesn't make me feel good. And then she's gonna be his wife. Same thing's gonna happen, and the cycle's gonna repeat. And guess what we'll say to Sarah Ann? I told you so. And AD, oh my god, I freaking loved her. She went up to Sarah Ann with such confidence, being like, what you did was messed up. Let's be real. I saw the message you sent. You did that to an engaged man. Do I think Sarah Ann is just as much fault as Jeremy? Yes, but Jeremy definitely still is more at fault because he made the vow. You know, if Sarah Ann sent the message, Sarah Ann sending the message is not what got us here. It's Jeremy opening the message and responding to it. Do you know how many women and men get messages every day while they're in relationships in their Instagram DMs from other people or Twitter, or they get hit on at the grocery store? The whole point is not interacting with them. You can't control other people's actions, but you can control your own. But Jeremy, he acts like a little boy. He's like, but I didn't do that. Like, it's horrible to watch. It makes my skin crawl. And I feel for Laura because she did what she was supposed to do. She went through the experiment the way she was loyal to it. And then you have other people that are just manipulating the experiment to their own gain, using that emotional connection that they formed against her. But it was amazing to see Laura stand up for her values and her morals against Jeremy and have the class to walk away. She is a class act, for sure. So let's talk about Jimmy, Chelsea, and Jess. Personally, I really like Jimmy. Like, I don't think he's a perfect guy. He's definitely made mistakes, but he is such a good communicator. I think a lot of people think he's like a bad guy, but I think these episodes that have come out recently have shown like he really takes what people say to heart. He listens, but like a human can only take so much. You can only take so much if somebody constantly every day being like, you don't kiss me, you don't kiss me, you don't kiss me, when you've literally kissed them like 10 times. And it doesn't mean you don't love them, but it's kind of just like, bro, what do you mean? Like, I kiss you. Like, can you stop saying I don't kiss you? So it's tough because like Jimmy definitely should have been more honest with Jess during this process. I love Jess. I also think Jess is a class act, honestly. The way she handled seeing Jimmy in person. Jess is also a perfect example of how to handle the whole love triangle better than Sarah Ann did. You know what I mean? Like, Jess respected the relationship, and she was kind of just like, oh, like when you hugged me, like I was still a bit nervous, but I respect you and Chelsea. Like, maybe one day if Jimmy reached out to her, if him and Chelsea didn't work out, then maybe Jess would consider it. But while they're still together, Jess would never do that to another woman. She would never do that to anyone because that is messed up to do to someone else. I thought the dynamic between Jess and Jimmy was really, really cute, and I didn't know when I was watching who I thought were better for one another. It was tough seeing the connection between Jimmy and Jess be so amazing and lovey-dovey, and like I did think in that moment he was gonna pick her and she was gonna pick him. I did in that moment think it was gonna be them because we already knew Jess was picking Jimmy. We already knew that, but we didn't know what Jimmy was gonna do. And it was unfortunate to see that connection come to an end after he found out about her daughter. But you know what? Like, I get it. I do get it. And I think Jess understood too, even though she was heartbroken, because it's like, not everybody's ready to be a father yet, you know, or a mother. And again, it's just one of those tough things that come with dating people and finding a relationship. Maybe your life partner out there, your soulmate, already has a kid. Maybe your soulmate out there was married once. But the thing is we start to think, oh, I don't want to raise a kid right now. Oh, I don't want to be with someone that's been married before. And then you lose out on that chance to maybe you would have been with your soulmate. So it's very tough being in the dating world in real life. Even on Love is Blind is tough. So I really liked Jess and Chelsea. I feel like both would have been really good for Jimmy. The thing is Jimmy said like Jess scared him a little bit. And I think that would have led to some problems. So it's really tough to say who I think he could have chosen. But at the end of the day, he went with Chelsea. And Chelsea, I think, is really beautiful. I think she's so cute. I think she's so funny. And I do really think they work well together. But it's just the anxious attachment. You can tell Jimmy is a very secure attachment person. He's not avoidant attachment and he's not anxious attachment. You can tell he's very much in the middle. But even someone in the middle can get overwhelmed by the constant, you don't love me, you don't love me, why didn't you do this, you gave me the wrong eye contact today, so it's like, if Chelsea like works on her anxious attachment with Jimmy, and like therapy would be really good for that too, I think definitely they'll have a successful relationship. But I do think like the whole accusation of like, you don't love me is so hurtful to someone else. But in that moment, she can't think about how that hurt him. She's just thinking about how him not kissing her that day hurt her. And she's like, well, when you don't kiss me, I don't think you love me. And for somebody that's really secure with their feelings and emotions in life and their attachment and their relationships, it's like, to hear someone else be like, I don't think you love me, that's like, your whole world comes down. Because it's like, I show you every day I love you. I tell you every day. I tell you I want to marry you. I'm here for you. I support you. And because I kissed you 8 times and not 10, you're telling me I don't love you. And I can get why Jimmy was so hurt in that moment and he just was done. And the thing is I've experienced trouble with that too sometimes, where it's almost like a test. It's like, I'm going to tell them to leave to see if they leave. If they leave, I confirm my own horrible thoughts that I have in my head that I'm unlovable. And I was right. They always leave. And if they stay, then it's like, oh, well, they're just staying because they feel bad. They don't actually love me. So it's like, either way you lose. It kind of sucks though, because like, I don't know if I liked Jess or Chelsea more for Jimmy. But I do know damn well I liked Trevor more for Chelsea. But unfortunately, we found out all the stuff come out recently about how Trevor, like, went on for just being famous, and I hate that type of stuff. It just ruins the experiment. But you know what? The universe was watching out for Chelsea. And it's like, that gut feeling that she had about picking Jimmy over Trevor was right. And she dodged probably such a huge heartbreak. Because I feel like with all this coming out, I have a feeling that if Chelsea would have chosen Trevor, he would have made her feel head over heels in love. He would have listened to her. He would have affirmed her feelings. He would have loved bombed her. And then at the altar, he would have said, I don't, and blindsided her. And I'm just so happy that she dodged such a bullet, because I know that would devastate her. Because I have a feeling Trevor wouldn't like fight like Jimmy does. The thing I like about Jimmy and Chelsea is that, like, Jimmy calls her out on her stuff, and Chelsea calls out Jimmy too. Like, the whole thing with AD that Jimmy did, I did not like. I thought that was so disrespectful, and Chelsea was 100% valid. Should Chelsea have pointed out, yeah, AD, you look so good? No. But she did that because she was feeling insecure, and she wanted to show that she was, like, a bros girl and stuff. So it's like they have their moment, but the good thing is the communication. And Jimmy communicates so well, Chelsea just has to get there. And I think if she works on it these next couple weeks with Jimmy and she gets there, I do think they'll work out. But if she doesn't, I have a feeling Jimmy's gonna say no. I think Chelsea's gonna say yes regardless, but who knows? We'll see as the next episodes come out. I don't know, a part of me likes to think that love is blind, I don't think it is for most people, because in reality, the world is not a place where we have barriers between one another. We see people every day. We judge people every day. We stereotype people every day. We judge people every day. We laugh at people every day. You see on TikTok, people bully people every day. It's like the world is a cruel place at the end of the day. And even though I would love to think love is blind, even though my dream is finding somebody that just loves me for who I am, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's the case. And would I love to go on Love is Blind? That would be amazing. But I wish. I think we all do. Dating just sucks now, and I hope one day I can find my person. Maybe post-surgery Tanya is gonna go on Love is Blind. Yeah, guys, I'm so nervous about my surgery. It is literally, it's Friday. Also, I didn't talk about AD, and I don't even remember the guy's name. Clay, is it? I actually loved AD and Matthew. I loved that she brought him out of his shell, that she made him all giddy. Like, he even fooled me. Matthew fooled me. I was shocked. I was rooting for them so much. And I think deep down, like, it still bothers AD, because I fully believe she would have went for Matthew if he did not do what he did. Clay was not the man for her. He's not ready. He's not mature enough. She's the one leading in the relationship. She might feel fine to lead now, but that frustration will come later. Because a lot of people don't think, like, if you are having problems in the pods already and out of the pods when you're just engaged, marriage will not solve that. Even though you say I do at the altar, that doesn't mean your problems go away. So here are my predictions. Amy and Johnny, they're gonna say I do, okay? Laura and Jeremy are over. I'm not sure if the show is gonna continue showing Jeremy and Sarah Ann through the engagement process, or if it's just going to be a hookup. Do I think Jeremy and Sarah Ann are going to say yes at the altar? Probably, just so they don't look bad to the public. Adie and Clay are not going to work out. In the way their current relationship has been going, I think Jimmy might say no. And I hope Jess finds happiness. But we'll see. I just really wanted to talk about this because the show has really been on my mind lately, and I would love to hear your guys' theories. But again, by the time this is out on YouTube, it will be old news. But if you're on Patreon, let me know if you've watched. I highly recommend you guys go watch the show. It's a nice breath of fresh air, honestly. But that's all I want to talk about this week. My surgery's coming in a few days, so I didn't want to do too heavy of a topic. Honestly, I just wanted to do like an easy podcast episode about something I'm enjoying lately, and that is Love is Blind. I will definitely talk about it more when like the vows come, the altar, oh my gosh. But that's it for now. But I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode of Lost and Loud, and I will see you guys next week for episode 7.